Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 5 of Expedition to Soul. Once again, I'm Sarah, founder of the Sisters Enchanted, and I am joined today by Anna.
That's me.
My co-founder and real life sister here at the Sisters Enchanted and in life, like I said. You're not just my sister here at the Sisters.
We're like co-founders in life.
Yeah. That's not how that works.
Life co-founders.
So welcome for day 5. So far, we have gone through so many cool things. Hi, Christina. I see Christina here in the comments. Christina's part of Team Sisters Enchanted. She'll be here to help answer any questions, get you any links you might need, anything that is stuck. She can help you out with that. And hello. So I just want to say that the software we're using, I say this every time, it doesn't show me everybody's Facebook names. Sometimes it just says Facebook user. I know Christina's here because she always does a moon, Team TSE, and then a ghost. That's the only way that I know it's Christina. Everybody else, I can't see who you are. I just see Facebook user. Some of you I can see. It's rolling in now with some names. It depends on where you're chatting from, but just so you know. All right. We started this out by kind of considering what it is that we might want to open up to receive. I see Sarah's here, and Amber is helping us out in the Expedition to Soul community right now as well, just making sure everybody's questions are answered and everything. So they are both here to help you out as needed as well. So day 1, we set the intention. We had our sort of invitation to receive and see what was going to come up for us over these 7 days. Day 2, I challenged you with finding time to yourself, doing something to change your perspective, getting outside the norm of your everyday life to really dig in deep to yourself. Day 3, we made the declaration and sort of washed away the old, in with the new. Here. And yesterday, my favorite day is the Assemble the Allies Day. And I loved seeing from those of you who've shared in the Facebook group about your experiences with day 4 and the past, present, future versions of yourself, and sort of calling in all of the beings of you. It's really, 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 really my favorite day. But today we are here for day 5. This is always the longest of our live streams just because of the nature of the conversation and going through all of the material for you today. So day 5, we call it walking into the cave. And this is when we look at
Cave of Wonders,
our moon signs. Now in astrology, those of you who are not versed in astrology, some of you we might have some astrologers in the comments in the house today. Anna is a pro astrologer. I am very much an amateur astrologer, but Anna is
trying to draw all the astrological signs, and it's not going well.
No, Anna's the professional. And when we talk about the cave, any adventure, right, that you're on, you have all of these pieces that we've gone through. Anybody here who, if we have any English teachers in the house or creative writing teachers, I am actually an English teacher. That's what I went to school for. And so you might recognize these elements sort of as a hero's journey kind of a story as well. There's always this part where we come to something scary or uncomfortable, and we have 2 choices: to move through that and get to the other side, go through the cave, or go back home and just stay where we are and never come to the end of our quest. And that's where we are here today. One of the things that we love to talk about here at the Sisters Enchanted, and it's ingrained in everything that we do, every single thing that we do, shadow work. Shadow work is ingrained in everything that we do. And that's the idea of taking the bits and pieces of yourself that might not be so pleasant to look at from your perspective, and understanding that it's that and the things about yourself that you love to look at that make you who you are. All of these pieces of yourself make you whole. They make you you. And when we come up to the things that might make us say, oh, this is just too hard for me right now, or there's just no way I'm going to do this, whether that's taking the time for yourself or investigating something within, or learning a new skill, or going like moving or applying for jobs, like whatever your level of hardness is on this scale here, we get to that part where we can choose to give up. And that's where your moon sign comes in. So in astrology, you have a sun, a moon, a rising sign. You have Jupiter, Mars, Pluto, Neptune, all the planets live somewhere in your birth chart. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what the moon just in general means in astrology?
So the moon in astrology is your emotional response to the world around you. It is how you react when you are backed into a corner, when you are feeling emotionally malnourished, and like what your response is to that. And on the other side, because there's a shadow and a light to every planet, every planetoid, every space body, so your space object, flying space object, that your moon can show how you are reacting when you're emotionally nourished and what it looks like when your emotions are confident and feeling good. And then it can also be reflective of when you're emotionally malnourished and how you act defensively in a place where you are feeling emotionally vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. And that's
how many times can I say emotion?
When we put ourselves back to the beginning, right? Because it's uncomfortable. And this comes with shadow work. And the shadow work class, we talk about the different things that are pretty clear indicators that you might want to do some shadow work. And we see that with our moon, because when it's in that kind of, when it's in the darker aspects of itself, the shadowy side, right? We might overreact. We might blame others. We might find reason why we're like a victim, or why we don't have no part in putting ourselves where we are.
Well, I was just thinking, because when we started this, I said the Cave of Wonders, which is a throw, obviously, to the Disney classic Aladdin. And I was thinking, because he goes into the cave, but the cave is not the time when he's afraid. It's not the time when he's not being his best self. He goes in, he only goes for the lamp. You know, there's not a lot of shadow work to be done in there. His shadow work doesn't start until he's given choices. And then you see where he starts to let his emotional need for an attachment and to be the perfect kind of partner, that you start to see his shadow come into place. So he's the hero up until he gets into his astrological 7th house, where it's not about him anymore. It's about the collective. And that's when his cave pops up. When it turns from being one into more.
Yeah, I like it. All right. So what we're going to talk about today are moon signs. This discussion goes a little bit longer than others because we go through all of the moon signs. You all have one.
All of the zodiac signs. There are 12.
There's a few little just housekeeping things that I will probably pause and mention a few times. So anybody who stays on for the long run, you're going to hear this a few times. And anybody, you'll hear me mention this because people come in and out. And Shauna, thank you for that feedback. We've not been to the beach. I didn't straighten my hair today.
And I took a shower. Well, I take a shower every day, but I washed my hair today, which I don't do every day.
I took a shower.
I did, but I washed my hair. It's easy and breezy today.
That's funny. I just didn't straighten mine on this day. Thank you for that feedback, though. Very kind. Okay, so but my few housekeeping things. One, the first thing here is that, how to find your moon sign. So I did link on the class page a link to a moon sign calculator. Now, we don't own that. That's not our website. So if it gives you information and you're like, that's not what something else tells me, we don't, I just tried to be helpful by giving you the link. So if you go to there and you have questions, I can't help you with that direct website. But it is a place where you can look up your moon sign only, so as to not be confused by your whole birth chart all at once. If you don't know your birth time, but you know your birth date, you can just go to Google and search moon sign and then your birthday. So the moon does move pretty quickly in like a 28-ish day period. It goes through every sign. So if you were born on a day when the moon was moving signs, it could have been in a different sign in the morning versus the afternoon if it's shifted. So if you look, though, moon sign on, and then type in your day on Google, you'll find a bunch of websites. Click on one of them. And if the moon was in that same sign all day, then that's your sign. If it moved, you'll hopefully want to try to dig into maybe a birth story. Were you born in the morning? Were you born at night? And see if that helps. But the moon does move quickly. So if you don't know your time and the moon moved on your day of birth, that can be tricky.
Right. I know, like, for instance, my son Riker was born at like 3 in the afternoon, and I had to have a C-section abruptly. And I was like, can we just wait 2 more hours? And they were like, well, it's kind of an emergency. And I was like, but if we wait 2 more hours, he'll be a Taurus moon instead of an Aries moon. And it's a first house moon. So
right
in my time of need, I was not feeling prepared to have a first house Aries moon babe. So between 3 and like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, it was moving. And so it was he could have very easily on that day been an Aries moon or a Taurus moon.
Yeah, it moved on the day that I was born. Also, I was born at night, but it moved later that night.
Yeah,
so I was right on the cutoff there.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go through them. What we're going to talk about here, again, also part of my housekeeping, we're focusing more on the shadow aspects just because of the purposes of this discussion.
Yes.
So we are talking about when we're reactive, when we are emotionally reacting. There are shadow and light aspects to every sign.
Mm-hmm.
We are specifically, for the purposes of this class, focusing on the shadow aspects.
Right.
So
if you're an Aries moon and I'm saying something and you're feeling like that doesn't sound like me, then you might be able to look at yourself and realize that you are in a very emotionally nurturing place for yourself.
And that might not sound like you.
Great.
Yeah. So we're specifically focusing on the shadow aspect in this class.
Yes.
All right. So let's get into it. Aries moon. That's our first one.
It is, because it's the first sign of the zodiac. So Aries moons tend to, when they are feeling emotionally upset, backed into a corner, a little bit shadowy, a little bit malnourished, we have a sign that acts reactively and defensively sometimes. And that doesn't always mean that they're being defensive on their own behalf. It might be if I had an Aries moon and Sarah was feeling emotionally upset and we had a strong emotional connection, I might also be in defense of Sarah because my emotional space was reacting to hers. So Aries moons will sometimes show defense, be very forward in how they're actively trying to tell you that they're upset, or may get so upset and not know how to tell you that it turns into reactivity instead of like a cathartic release. It'll be more like, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm mad, sad, crying. That's kind of Aries moon. And I say this oftentimes, the Aries, the sign is a ram, but Aries in general reminds you of the Greek god Ares, the god of war. And think about how Aries would pop down if you were in emotional distress. Would he hug you? No, he would probably bust down a door and battle whatever was emotionally upsetting you. So it is a reactive sign.
So at this point in Exhibition to Soul, if you're feeling like, well, I set this intention and it's not coming up, or I don't know, one of my family members wasn't paying attention and knocked over a glass of water on all my journals and my cards, and now it's all ruined. And you just be angry. And that, though, if you're in that cave, might be your stopping point if you're not willing to go through it and understand what's happening.
And the shadow work of that would be, my default is to get mad. Right. But if I stop, take a deep breath of water and go, it's just water. Is it really something to be mad at? And that's kind of Aries. And it's not mad, you're a rage monster. It's your emotions come through as looking maybe short-tempered, maybe looking defensive, maybe looking agitated, because that's just how your emotions are bubbling up. It's like a boiling over point.
Yeah, sure. All right.
It doesn't mean you're mean or angry.
No. This is all just parts of us.
Right.
We all have times where we come off as mean or angry.
Yeah.
Because we all have Mars, which is Aries, the story of Aries. That god of war. We all have Mars somewhere in our chart.
Right.
And so we all have anger somewhere.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Just in your moon sign, you're also carrying it there if you're an Aries.
Right.
All right. Taurus. Taurus is so Aries is a fire sign. You didn't mention that.
Yeah.
There's each of the elements, there's 3 signs. Aries is a fire sign, and it's kind of the most fiery. It's the most naive of the fire signs.
It's like the student just
catches the fastest.
Yeah.
The next one is Taurus, and that's kind of the youngest sort of naive energy of the earth signs.
Yes. So Taurus moons, when feeling emotional in their cave, in their cavey times, Tauruses are ones who might retreat to comfort themselves in some sort of manner that's material related. So because Taurus is an earth sign and Taurus is a a sign of material abundance and like what you do with that abundance and what you like to have around you, what beautiful things you like to have around you. A Taurus moon might decide that they're feeling really emotionally taxed, and they might go home, and if it feels beautiful to you, to wrap yourself in a really plush blanket and open up a bottle of wine and read a book or watch a trashy television show. And I mean trashy with all the best love, because sometimes that's what you need, and eat like a half or a whole pizza all by themselves. Like a Taurus moon might do that. They might spend some money and then
a little time at TJ Maxx.
A little bit of time at TJ Maxx, buying the right pajamas to eat said pizza and bottle of wine, you know, and wrap themselves up in a blanket and sit somewhere that's super duper cozy to themselves. And the nice thing about Taurus is, because it is that earth sign, is they might leave room for others to do it, but only if you're willing to do it too. So this is, somebody who might late night Amazon shopping cart buy things and get like 8 packages 2 days later and be like, I wasn't emotionally well when I pressed pay now.
So that's the shadow aspect, right? That if you're feeling like, oh, I just wanted to take time for myself on Expedition Solar, signed up for this thing, and gosh darn it, I couldn't do it, and there's all these reasons why I had to work overtime, or like maybe you felt uncomfortable with maybe like comparing to what other people were doing, and whatever just made you, you know, you're feeling like there's all these reasons why you're not moving forward. Mm-hmm. So then that shadow thing, instead of saying, well, what can I learn about the way I'm feeling right now? Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm going to go buy, you know,
to comfort
a sweatshirt, and I'm just going to do what I know makes me feel good, and like do this thing that makes me feel beautiful and good.
For sure.
And okay, so that's Taurus. The next one is Gemini, and Gemini is the first of the air signs, which means that it's the most like that younger energy of the air signs. When we talk about younger energy, as you progress through the zodiac, wisdom sort of grows. So it's kind of a more, you know, if you look at fire before learning lessons, it's going to take off faster and destroy more, versus fire after learning lessons. That fire can be more controlled and used in a powerful way, but it's still fire. So so we see that with all of them: water, earth, air. So Gemini is the first of the air signs. So it's that that more like uncontrolled air.
Mm-hmm. And in that sense, if you're, you know, a tarot reader, air has those same kind of keywords of communication, thought, those kinds of things. So Gemini moons. So Gemini, we have the twins of the zodiac. So a Gemini moon, when feeling like they need to be, emotionally nourishing of themselves, or they're feeling emotionally vulnerable, Gemini moons might like to talk. And they might like to talk so much so that they never get to a point. And especially if they're feeling slighted by somebody specifically, or a situation specifically, they might gossip about that to everybody except the person that it counts. Mm-hmm. You know, because they're trying to make themselves feel better about the situation. And because they're trying to do that, they're trying to gather information from everybody else's opinion except the one person that they need to have that conversation with. So a Gemini moon might have a lot of conversations, so much so that they might make the situation worse.
So here you might be feeling like you just want to talk to get everybody's opinion. Like, should this look this way? Should my map look this way? Should I? Instead of just listening to yourself, because it's just confusing you more, right? And it's bringing you more into a shadow place rather than moving forward, which is where you need to go. Right. So that's what I see with Gemini. And I see the comment about by younger cardinal fixed muted. And we just tried to use less astro lingo on this particular live stream. We do teach a full-blown astrology class. It is currently on waitlist, so I don't know if we can pull up a waitlist. Anybody on our team in the comments. It won't be open till later this year though. But we do teach a full-fledged astrology program. But cardinal fixed muted is the more profesh way of describing the energy we're trying to describe without astrology terms.
I like to, and especially if you are somebody who enjoys tarot, I like to think of the octaves as like Knight, Queen, King, like a little bit chaotic, a little bit more rounded, and then like the full octave of it. They're always learning from each other until they get to like that King area, which I don't know, whole other thing. But that's how I like to do it if you're not like astrologer jargon.
I like the octaves too. All right, so the first of the water signs is Cancer. I am a Cancer rising. And I love the idea of being, I'm an RV person, and so I love it because a crab, Cancer, carries its home on its back.
Right.
And it occurred to me recently that I am the crab carrying my home on its back.
Right.
I know.
I like to think of Cancer as like a hermit crab, and not as much like a crab, but like a hermit crab.
Yeah.
So a Cancer moon is for sure. So Cancers, especially in the moon, and the moon's home in Cancer. They're like the two things they like to be together. So the moon and Cancer like to cozy up, and that is their pairing. They like that. They are receptive of each other.
Yeah.
They're home together. So because Cancer and the moon are very motherly like in their nurturing ability and their capacity to hold others, emotional space for others. So Cancers is what they do is that they are so usually empathetic and are so tuned into everybody else that somebody who doesn't have strong boundaries as a Cancer moon or is not taking good care of their emotional self, they will take on too much from other people. And then because it's a water sign that doesn't have great boundaries, then they kind of start to drown in other people's emotions, and they can't separate their emotional well-being from other people's, and they kind of just drowns them, and then they get, it's too much. So Cancer moons need to be able to say, I have space for your emotional needs right now, and then they need to be able to kind of separate themselves from it so that they can still identify when they need emotional wellness and support, when they need moon support. So yeah, they can just get almost so empathetic that they just can get so burdened that they don't know where their, like, somebody else's feelings start and theirs end, and that can just make you feel really burnt out and overall sad or defeated. And
and so on the other side of that, when we talk about the shadow and the light to each sign, a Cancer moon that is feeling very like they have good boundaries, they do feel supported, like they have space to unwind for themselves, clear away, they can be very nurturing to other people, very nurturing to themselves, and really be that soft spot to land for other people. But in that shadowy aspect, without having done the work of setting boundaries and understanding self-care and what they need to thrive, that can feel so burdensome that they don't move forward with their own lives, or they take on everything from others and then are left feeling really resentful.
I will say too, and I'm going to head this right off, that I see a comment that just says, I have this moon placement, and that means I have a weak moon, and you're bummed. I'm going to sit here first and foremost. Well, I'm going to sit here first and foremost. And I'm a very individual astrologer. Very individual. And I would never, ever, ever tell anybody that their moon or anything in their astrological chart was weak, and that was so sorry to be you. That's so not true. Everything in your astrology chart, every placement, every sign has a reason, has a purpose. And that's the thing about shadow work. Am I a defensive human being by nature? A lot. Yes. Do I do that? Yes. Do I, in my past, have I wanted to blame people for things? Yes. Are there maybe astrological signs that might point to why I do that? Perhaps. But that's my own thing. And if I don't want to be defensive and I don't want to blame other people, I got to stop, check myself before I wreck myself, and reverse that, and then use that passion like I'm doing right now to be an advocate for that, for myself and for other people. There is not one thing in your chart, whether it's in detriment, whether it's in fall, whether it's whatever it is, your astrological chart is perfectly perfect for you, and there's nothing wrong with it.
It's my favorite when Anna raises her voice. No, and an 8th house moon, well, I'm not an 8th house Pisces.
And I say that with all the love in the world. Like, I'm serious. Like, there's nothing wrong with your astrological chart, nada.
I'm an 8th house moon. And 8th house in our holistic witchery class, in our shadow work unit, we have a whole unit in there. We talk about astrology stuff, and an 8th house moon is one of the psychic indicators you look for too. So, whoever told you it was a weak moon, they can put that in their pipe and smoke it.
Right. And we'll talk about that a little bit. Like I just said, that Cancer's home together with their moon, and we'll talk about what that looks like in the opposite sign, because we will get there, and I first-handedly know what that looks like.
So we can break to answer this question, and then we'll go on with the next 4 signs. When your moon's earlier in your chart versus later, I think we can most succinctly answer that by the first half, the lower half, 1 through 6 houses of your chart, that's more external world stuff.
In the lower half of your chart, internal, focused on you. Yep, top half. Sorry, I was reading and I didn't know if I heard you right.
Yeah, no, but that's what other people can see. Like your
Right.
first house, people can see it. Where like you get around to the top half, your 12th house, that's like not.
Right. So yeah, anything between house 1 and 6 is going to be like very individual to your personal journey. So if your moon's there, it might be something that affects you more independently. And if it's on the other half, 7 through 12, it might be something that is directed more towards like the collective, like your emotions might be set off more by other people than like yourself, and so on and so forth.
What I meant is that the stuff on the front half, though, people can see that about you.
Yeah.
The top half,
right,
you might not even see it about you.
Right. Right.
Because that's where we're hiding more things.
Right. Like I said, my son's a first house Aries moon, and like he's in a Pisces rising. So he's going to get so upset, and then he's going to switch like this, and we're all going to see it. We're going to be like, it's happening. Like we're going to be able to see a tantrum happening before it happens, because he's going to get hurt or he's going to cry. And then we'd be like, oh no, if we don't do something now, it's going to be like.
Yeah. So JC, like the first house, that's like your doormat to your house. Anna always says everybody can see it. So like your emotional self,
You're welcome,
people would be like, I can see their emotions a mile away.
Right.
Whereas kind of the farther you get from the first house, it's not that it's not. Because if you have a 12th house moon where you're really trying to bury down your emotions, like that could be, people might notice that but the why you're doing that might be more hidden than the why on your first house.
Right. Like, so it's like your welcome mat, depending on what sign you are, like watch your step or welcome or welcome-ish or turn back now. Like that's like your welcome mat, like kind of like this. And I see, again, saying that somebody told you that you had a weak moon. And a lot of astrologers in life, in practicing, are very hardcore. They are very regimented. I will say that in our class, where there is a waitlist link, that we focus heavily on ethical reading and what it's like to be somebody who is always looking towards people's like best self and being able to deliver readings in a way that are uplifting and not defeating, because that's just not helpful for anybody.
We have 3 different teachers in the program, and they all read
entirely differently.
Their reading styles different too. So see that, but I can relate. Someone read my chart once and asked if I was allowed to be alone with my children, because I have Mars and Pluto and Scorpio in a place that, you know, would indicate that I am quite short-tempered and would burn down my house on a bad day. And while I wouldn't say that might not be, that's not entirely accurate, I am like the most patient person with kids that ever was. So, but I do definitely have that. You burn, but it's more like you burn one of my kids, and I might burn your house down.
That's true.
So I don't take it out on the kids. I will take it out on the person who burned my kid. But the astrologer read it as like me with my kids in that way. So anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I had one tell me I chose to put myself through the meat grinder of this life, and that like no relationship will ever make me happy, because I'm just too.
I know. People are rude.
I'm just too much.
Just don't listen. If someone's rude to you in a reading ever, just be like, well, you seem rude. I'm going to go get another one. All right. Our next sign is Leo. So that's our second of the fire signs.
And to me, I always describe Leo as that very Mufasa energy when it's in its light, because Leo is ego. It is the sun, and ego is a good word, not a bad word. And a Leo moon will be hurting if somebody doesn't recognize their strengths. So a Leo moon will feel slighted, will start to feel emotional when somebody doesn't look at them and say, like, I see how like emotionally confident you are. I see how in control of your, you know, your reactions are. If you're not seen that way, and in a relationship, if you're not seen by your other counterpart as like the Mufasa of your realm, then that hurts you, because your ego is now wounded, and everybody needs a healthy ego to be nourished. And so Leos, oftentimes when they're not feeling nourished, will have confidence issues and not be able to put their best foot forward with like a healthy ego would.
So in something like Expedition to Soul, or if any of you are like those of you that are watching that are in holistic witchery, like any of our programs, if you've been feeling like you're like seeking validation for what you're learning and how much you're growing and no one's giving it to you,
Right.
that could make you just like put it all down and say, well,
yeah,
you know, guess it's not as good as I thought.
Right.
Even though it is.
And it doesn't, yeah, like this was making me feel good and now I don't feel good,
Yeah.
you know, like that. For sure.
All right. So then we come up to our next Earth, which is Virgo.
So a Virgo moon, when feeling not nourished, might just not do a lot, to be honest. A Virgo moon, well, because Virgo energy wants to do so much. And this is always one of my best ways to explain this, is that now years ago, I did a reading and I told somebody, I was like, you just make life so easy for everybody. You've got the shoe rack, you'll do the dishes, but you just want them to knock the food into the trash can and rinse their dish, and you'll put it in the dishwasher. You know, like you fold everybody's clothes and put it on under their bed. You just ask them to put it away. Like you make it so easy for everybody to have a routine and for this tidiness, this everything. You make it easy for everybody. And when they throw a plate in the sink that has food on it, or they put their shoes in the middle of the living room floor, it makes you so mad. And I was like, and it's because your Virgo moon is trying so hard to keep everybody together and to nurture these people you care about, that when they don't do what you made it easy for them to do, it hurts you so bad that it makes you angry. And she wrote me back and she went, oh my gosh, this whole time in my life, I thought I was an angry Aries. And you just like blew me away with the fact that it's not because I'm an angry Aries, because Aries aren't by nature angry. It was her Virgo moon and the fact that her family wasn't recognizing how much nurturing love she put on a silver platter tied with a bow, perfectly steamed bow, for them to make their life easy. And because they weren't doing what was easy, they were making her life hard. And even though she did steps 1 through 8, and they just needed to do 9 and 10. So then if that doesn't happen, a Virgo can easily get defeated, a Virgo moon, and then not do those things. And then it can overpile, and then it will make them feel even more emotionally drained. And then that's when they start overthinking and they get stressed out about it. And they might not let you know either, because Virgos tend to be very, they might not even let you know that they're that pent up.
And I see like Amber sharing a Virgo sun, so you feel that as well. And
yes,
you might still feel these in different placements in your chart, depending on what planet it is and where it is in your chart. So your moon specifically is kind of your emotional reaction.
Right.
But even that can vary. So if we say something that doesn't sound like you, and you know that's your moon sign, that can vary too, depending on the house that it's in,
how strong it is,
what's there with it. And by strong, she means like the like if there's a lot of stuff outweighing somewhere else in the chart, that could make it so that your emotional reactions aren't as like seen and big as somebody else's. So like what we're saying too, can those that can apply to somebody like Anna has a Virgo stellium. She's got lots of stuff in Virgo. It's not her moon, but like that still applies to Anna, but in different ways, not as necessarily emotionally tied as to like how Anna wants to be seen as the person in her home and in her life. And then if that's not upheld, then what happens? So it's also interesting. Okay, the next one is Libra. That's our next air.
Yes. And the air sign of Libra. So if you have a moon in Libra, this is a sign where you're always actively, so emotionally speaking, you're always actively trying to pursue balance and fairness between you and whoever you have emotional attachments to, or whatever you have emotional attachments to. So you can have an emotional attachment to your job and not just people in it. Emotions are bigger than that. But Libra will always try to make sure that everything is balanced. It's equal. We're doing great. But to Libra, sometimes this equality is like, I'll take out a little bit work, but we're still working. We're still doing it. We're still going. And they will still recognize that somebody else is working, even though they might be working a whole lot more, and it's getting like real heavy. And they won't realize it until it's way too late, and they won't advocate for themselves. And when that comes to a head, because it's an air sign here, that's when that kind of sharp, like air tongue will come out and maybe say something quippy, like, and not even like Gemini might say a lot of quippy things right away. Libra might just say one thing because they're all of a sudden feeling slighted, but they let it go for so long that the person that they say something to is like, what?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming.
I didn't see that coming, because they just take it on for so long. So a Libra that is recognizing this can keep their personal boundary skills in check and advocate for themselves sooner than later. So it doesn't come across as short-witted, because Libras are always, and Libra moons seem to be very passive and flexible.
Yeah.
And so when you do respond to somebody from an emotional center, people all get like defensive, and then the Libra will be left feeling badly that they advocated for themselves because they waited too long.
Yeah, Christina's the Libra moon.
Yeah.
All right. The next of these middle signs is Scorpio, our water sign. We just recorded a podcast episode in which we
did not talk about Scorpio moon.
No, we deduced that our office was a Scorpio.
We did.
If our office was a zodiac sign,
it would be a Scorpio.
We've decided that it's a Scorpio sun and moon with a Capricorn rising.
Yeah.
That's what we decided our office was.
Yeah.
That episode will come out the 21st. It's about the Capricorn full moon.
If the lights start working, it'll be our knowing that we pegged it right.
Well, that light did turn on, but I don't remember when. We're having lighting issues. The lights won't turn on in some places, but in others it will, so who knows. All right, so Scorpio.
Yes. So Scorpio moons, this is a watery moon. Scorpio moons, when feeling like they're not nourished, can be really quick acting to take down something that they worked hard to emotionally build up. So I always say this story, this is another story I always say to get this like example across, is there's the story of the scorpion and the frog, and the scorpion wants to get across the pond or wherever frogs live and asks the frog if he can have a ride on its back, and the frog goes, no, you'll sting me. And the scorpion's like, well, why would I do that? Because I want to get across as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the frog's like, oh, touche, good point, hop aboard. And they get halfway across the water, and the scorpion stings the frog. And the frog goes, why did you do that? Because now we're both going to drown. And the scorpion goes, it's in my nature. And, you know, that just is what it is, which is a little harsh. But at the same time, so Scorpios, this is the thing about Scorpio moons, is that they want so deeply to be connected to other people. And not just like a little bit connected. They want to so deeply connect to somebody that they want to like intertwine and intermingle, so much so that they know another person backwards and forwards, in and out, like all these things. And the moment that they feel like that exchange of power, that exchange of passion and intimacy and connection is slighted even at all, they will cut that so fast. And because it's so deep, it hurts so bad, and it hurts them and it hurts people around them. But it's because they are protecting themselves at all cost, because they thrive in those deep, passionate relationships.
Oh, my son's a 12th house Scorpio moon. And he just like that.
Yes. Well, I'm a Scorpio rising, and I have a 12th house Pluto right on top of my ascendant. And I have been known to burn up
in my
a BITCH and
Scorpio. No, Emma and I, when we're on the same, when Emma and I like catch the same target, that's probably not a good thing.
It's not
a good thing at all.
But yes, Scorpio, especially Scorpio moons, is one of those signs that get kind of a bad air about it, but it's not. It's just because they care so much.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's because they're so emotionally vulnerable that it seems harsh, and it's
all right.
Yeah.
Then we are on the final of our section of signs. So these are the ones that are on the other end of the wisdom scale. If you started with us from this whole time, as the zodiac progresses through the signs, they gain wisdom. So the fire signs gain wisdom, the air signs, they all gain wisdom. And now these last four, the last of each of the elements, that's kind of the wisest. So they still have the property of the element that they're associated with. It's just more of a controlled, more of a controlled property, so to speak.
It is, and yeah, it is. I would say too, even more on like a surface level, it is, because we know all about, we know about these signs, and that they all have, even if they're wiser on the outside, they all have a shadowy side too that oftentimes makes them appear to be less wise,
and can feel like they know it all because
they feel that
they're
way.
wiser.
Yeah. So Sagittarius. So a Sagittarius moon, this is our wanderer of the zodiac. This is our philosopher. This is our centaur that puts hoof to pavement and gets things done. So a Sagittarius moon is somebody who, when they're feeling emotionally defensive or emotionally reactive or emotionally malnourished, they might just get up and go.
Our mom's a Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising.
And I can't even tell you how many times she has gotten up and gone and like gone, and nobody hears from her for like a few days. But that's okay. But she up and gone, and that's how she removes herself from when things are emotionally hard for her. And so yeah, they're the get up and go. They're the, even if they can't go for long, they're the type that gets in their car and drives through a drive-through and sits at a beach and takes a deep breath, or the type that slams the bathroom door because they don't know where else to go and just needs like 5 minutes by themselves. Like that is a Sagittarius moon. They just need to get away for a minute or a day or a few days. And somebody who has the capacity to take like a self-care mini break, self-vacation, it's a Sagittarius written all over it. Like I'm taking a 3-day day trip, just me, taking myself to the bar and to the beach. That has Sagittarius written all over it. Gone with the wind. I won't worry about that today. I'll worry about it tomorrow.
I have 5 planets in Sagittarius, not my moon though, but 5 planets in Sagittarius. And this goes to show too, just how even the moon stuff can relate in different ways, because all of that speaks to my general personality.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
You're out of here.
I'm out of here.
It's just recently, one of Sarah's kids pretended to be Sarah and put a purse on his shoulder. It was Adam, and said, "I'm Mama, and I'm leaving.
I'm leaving this house." And
yeah.
He dragged my purse through the kitchen like he was leaving.
So good.
Yeah.
So yeah. So the next sign is Capricorn, which is our last Earth sign. And we were talking about how the moon feels at home with Cancer. The moon in Capricorn is what we call in astrological jargon in detriment, which means that it's like
doesn't love it.
It doesn't love it. It's probably, and it's not weak, I will say that, but it's probably the one sign that the moon they just don't, they're like two magnets that can't go together.
Yeah,
they're pushing each other, kind of like this. They can't find how to connect. And I have a Capricorn moon, so I speak from experience to those who have one. The Capricorn moon is typically deemed as a very cold moon, a cold position to have, a very unnurturing position to have. And a Capricorn moon can withdraw, have very strong boundaries when it doesn't want to be emotionally slighted in the least. Again, because it's one of those signs that feels a lot and has the responsibility of others on their backs usually, and they're working so hard and focused so that they can materially gain things, so that they can take care of their loved ones, so they don't have to worry about it later. And that can make them look like they're ignoring their families or their loved ones or the people around them. So when a Capricorn moon is feeling very slighted and they're not being seen for the hard work that they are doing, a Capricorn moon will get some bricks and some cement and build up some super sturdy walls, because they don't want to hear anything about them, and they will just put up big walls. And it has been my in my astrology intuitive reading life, I have suggested the practice to Capricorn moons in the past that they envision themselves in quiet space taking a brick down every once in a while when it's needed. And
we have the full moon in Capricorn coming up. So like I said, podcast comes out the 21st.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
So we all might be feeling that a little bit more.
Yeah. And it is. It's because it has a destination in its goal, whether or not you are a CEO of a zodiac, or, for me, I think that mine comes out a lot with being a mom and what I want that to look like what I want my family life to look like. Because for me, that's the hard work that I put in every day. And sometimes I'm so focused on having a clean house, having dinner on the table, that I forget to be emotionally available for the people around me. And that's the shadow work, is that sometimes Capricorn moons need to stop, listen, and say, that was the moment that I needed to give somebody a pat on the back. That was the moment my significant other was looking for a hug and I didn't do it. wait a minute, I just needed a hug and I didn't ask for it and I needed it. And that is the shadow work for the moon, that they get so emotionally filled with boundaries that they stop realizing when they need emotional nourishment.
Yeah.
And then they need to start telling themselves that they need it, or actively start looking for when other people need it. Yeah.
Right. So our final air sign is Aquarius. Yours truly is an Aquarius moon.
Yeah.
I'm an 8th house Aquarius moon.
Yeah.
And my Jupiter is there too. So it expands. Jupiter expands. So it's expanding my emotional reactions.
So an Aquarius moon
Nobody reads.
might feel like when they are emotionally feeling drained or feeling like they need to defend themselves, because let's be real here and let's talk about shadow work, that being defensive is an emotional reaction.
Yeah.
Yes. And usually but statements or defending yourself or blaming other people is because you're feeling emotionally vulnerable and you're trying to escape feeling that way.
Mm-hmm.
So an Aquarius moon is the type that
Tell me about my type.
well, I know it's the moon that well no, because they so believe that they're right, and not because they're hard-headed or anything like that. It's because they've done the work, they've done the research, they've read the book, they read it again, but they might have only read like the books on one side of the bias and maybe not the other, but they now believe so wholeheartedly that they're right. So when they're feeling upset, they might be like, you hurt my feelings, but the other person they're talking to might be like, but you hurt mine.
Mm-hmm.
And the Aquarius moon is like, but no, I'm right, because I know that my feelings were slighted, because it's my opinion that my feelings were slighted, and that right now your opinions aren't right because mine are. They become even more defensive and almost harder headed, because they're going to try to continue to tell you that they're right and you're wrong.
Yeah. Well, the thing about air signs is that's communication.
Right.
So too, it's like this knowing. I see this with I am an Aquarius moon, and my husband's an Aquarius moon.
Yes.
And
they're two different sides of the opinion.
What Anna was just saying about the moon not enjoying Capricorn, but the moon loves Cancer. So I'm a Cancer rising, and my husband's a Capricorn rising. So we have opposite views on the world, completely opposite views. We're both fire sun signs, and we both react emotionally the same way with Aquarius moons.
Right.
And for us, it's also because it's communication with air, and it's not feeling heard. So it's like, I know what I'm trying to tell you, and I know it's the right thing, and I don't think you're hearing me, and I'm right, and you're not hearing it, you know.
But he's the same way.
He thinks, he's like, you're not hearing me, and I'm right.
Right.
And then it just never comes to.
Right.
He and I cannot get into disagreements. We
Right.
literally just have to say, we just don't believe the same thing.
Right.
And when we came to that realization, it was very helpful. We don't share.
Right.
We don't share decision making really. We don't share finances. Like we work together. But it's very like, you're in charge of this stuff, I'm in charge of this stuff,
right.
And it can't overlap.
Well, the thing is about that is, emotionally speaking, Sarah, for instance, her and her husband find middle ground in humor. Yeah. And so when they're on the same page of humor as their emotional healing towards each other, that's where they find common ground. So when they can find the funny in a situation, that's where they heal those conversations, because that they find to be in order. They both have the same opinion about funny.
Yeah, we both love humor, and we're both pretty funny. So then together we're really funny. Yeah. And arguments don't last very long. But
like if they're in an argument, one of them's like, this sounds terrible, one of them stubs their toe. They both are the type that laugh that somebody just stubbed their toe. Yeah. So like if that happens, they're like, somebody like is doing this and they hit their arm, they're both like and they both just then it's but that's
the beauty of learning astrology, though, is that because Anna's an astrologer, so before understanding astrology, I would have just said that, like, my husband and I, we just fight, we just can't seem to get along or agree on anything. But now understanding astrology, I'm like, wait, it's just because we are like the same person with different opinions. Yeah. But we're the same person with a different opinion. Yeah. And it's not even an opinion, really. It's a view on life. Like just I think it's gray with the E. He's going to say it's gray with an A. Right. And then we're
tomato.
We're never going to come together on it.
Column.
Yeah. And understanding that, though, was so key, because then we could say, just, well, then you just have to know that about each other and then move on. So astrology, but yeah, so that's totally me. If I feel like I'm communicating because I know the truth and you're not hearing me, it's just going to send me into,
Yeah. Right. And so you've learned a lot by knowing that about yourself. And sometimes you know when a conversation's not going to go and that there needs to be another way around it besides having that conversation.
Well, and I can see it about myself too. I can say I'm feeling frustrated right now because I feel like I'm not being heard, and I can see
that you're frustrated.
I can see I'm frustrated because of it. And also, is there a path forward for me here, or am I not able to walk this path right now?
You know that
shadow stuff.
Sarah is doing the shadow work when she goes, I can see that you're frustrated right now. I am frustrated right now. And clearly we're not communicating. And it's said like very specifically. And you know when I'm doing it, when I'm like, okay, let me just check myself before I make an excuse. Let me reevaluate. And then I give my response. And that's how you know you're doing the shadow work. That's how you know you're entering your cave, because you have acknowledged it's about to happen. It's okay, it was about to happen, but now you're changing your narrative and you're tackling it head on. So Pisces, it's our last one. So a Pisces moon. So a Pisces moon
Every
energy.
time anyone says Pisces, I want to just like swim in and see.
I say Pisces, but in my head I say Pisces, because that's how my astrology teacher taught me how to remember how to spell Pisces.
Oh,
so I say that in my head. It's really good. Pisces. So yeah. And just how like Uranus. Now I say Uranus instead of like the traditional sound because it sounds funny. So
we're not 12 and immature.
We're not 12. Don't listen to that Capricorn moon podcast. Totally not childish at all. So a Pisces moon is the type, because the Pisces want to be, especially emotionally, when they're looking to be emotionally nourished, they want to be a part of just the collective. They want to be a part of everybody. They are totally the type that wants to sit at the real or proverbial Burning Man and just be a part of like the collective consciousness that is, right? And a Pisces energy, because they just want to get lost in everybody else. They want to get lost in the energy of everybody, the emotions of everybody. They want to be one with the crowd. That they are the type that sometimes, when really emotionally unnourished and really trying to attach onto something, that they are the ones that might be more likely to fall into vices to feel that emotional attachment. Like, I'm not feeling oneness here with you all unless it can be any kind of vice. It could be, having too many slices of cake. It could be, I can't have this emotional conversation with you on a deep level unless I've opened a bottle of wine, or, like things like that. But sometimes they can cloud their emotions by putting a Band-Aid on it because they want so badly to get in there that they'll do something to aid getting lost. Yeah. And then it will become a crutch instead of having a healthy emotional attachment. It'll become an unhealthy emotional attachment because it needs something to help them get in there.
Yeah. Pisces moon can just bring out a lot.
Right. It's water, and it's water on water, and it's the highest octave. It's the most, it might even be more empathetic than Cancer, except Cancer is like the nurse that wants to help everybody's emotions. Pisces wants to be in there with you. They want to be on the gurney next to you, talking about your symptoms. They want to be in there and be okay, well, how can we heal our bodies together? How can we raise the vibration of this room to heal our collective bodies? Because they want to feel what you're feeling. They don't want to just talk about how you're feeling. They want to know how you're feeling because they want to witness it firsthand. And if they're struggling witnessing that firsthand, they're going to find something to help them do that.
Yeah. Yeah, Pisces wants to be in there. I'm a Pisces midheaven, and that's your kind of career space. Mm-hmm. So bringing together all the intuitive, empathetic people. Yeah. And then getting in there is kind of what I'm made for. Yeah. But as a moon, though, I can see that would be that could be heavy.
It could be really heavy. Yeah, you have to be able to check yourself. Am I about to just emotionally dive into this pool in a healthy way
and not help myself
and not still be an independent person? Because with a Pisces moon too, you would have to really watch out for not losing your identity in somebody else and making sure that you're still an independent, thriving person, as well as trying to feel other people's emotions and live their experiences. You still have to be an independent person at the end of the day. You can't just be lost in the crowd.
Yeah, for sure. So someone's asking,
give me something to take off the edge because it's too much.
Yeah. If someone shares the same sign for moon and sun. So I'm thinking, I'm not sure if that can mean two things. So if one person has both the same sun and moon sign, you just have extra of that. Like I said, our mom has the same sun, moon, and rising. So those are kind of the three heavy hitters people look at in a chart. Just quickly could be sun, moon, and your rising sign. But you do have all these other planets. So, but if you have 2 or 3 of those in the same sign, it's just a lot of that for you. And then if you are in a relationship or know somebody who has the same sun and moon as you, astrology is like a big puzzle. And later this year, we'll teach our free astrology class again too. But where those placements are in a chart could influence whether those two people are very similar or not also.
You can talk about like twins who are born that are complete opposites, but because they're twins and they're born like a couple minutes apart, how come their astrology charts look so similar, but they're so different? But it's also how you as an individual are looking at the world around you. So even if 4 people even if you're all Virgos, there are so many little nuances and degrees and things. And because we're individual thinkers, you could be 2 Virgos and one of you wears rose-colored glasses and the other one wears indigo-colored glasses. Like you're still living life, but you're seeing it like differently because we all are an independent person and how we live that experience is different. So you can have very similar things to people, but the way that it's coming through you could look different than it does to somebody else. And that's also too depending on how somebody does deal with shadow work or doesn't. That could be, with twins, certain friend groups and how that changes their like projected, outcome, because I believe, Sarah believes that you've got this astrology chart, but you write your own stars. Just because you have the potential to be this way doesn't mean that you live your life and that's how you show up. Like I was told I was choosing to be put through the meat grinder in life. But if I stop and say, like, am I making it harder for myself doing this? Do I have to make my life harder for myself? Or can I advocate for myself and make my life not hard? Like I said, with my Capricorn moon, can I say that was a moment my husband needed a hug and then go hug him? Am I maybe 30 seconds too late? Maybe. But did I do it? Yes, because I showed up for myself and I'm changing the script on what could be. And I'm trying to make what could be weaknesses, air quotes, because I don't believe in that, into all of my strengths.
Yeah.
So do I intuitively know when somebody needs a hug? No. But do I actively know that was my moment and it's now time to act on it? Yes. And now I'm a hero. So you know what?
That's just it. So your friend who's a Cancer sun and Cancer moon, it's amplified. Right. In our lives, we mentioned our mom is a Sagittarius sun, moon, and rising. And I'm a Sagittarius. I have to look at the list because I forget. Sun, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Uranus. I'm all those things in Sagittarius. And but you look at my mom and I, and you can very clearly see similarities in our personality and like defense mechanisms. Like you can very clearly, but you can also see stark differences between my mom and I. And that's like my Saturn in Sagittarius would have a huge play in that. And the fact that like her moon sign is in Sagittarius would have a huge role in how her Sagittarius looks different than my Sagittarius. So, so even if you have it, like what other else might be in there, what else could be going on? I mean, you could have sun and moon in one thing, but then have like a bunch of planets all in one other place and really find yourself identifying with both signs still. So
like somebody just said, Saturn sits with Pisces with my moon. So you now know what a Pisces moon in shadow might look like. But when you have a structured Saturn on top of that, that might not be as relevant to you as it might be to somebody else, and it might come out differently for you because you've got some Saturn structures in there, and that all just depends on you and everybody's different. So Pisces on you might not look like Pisces on me,
but when it comes to the moon sign and cave day here as an Expedition to Soul, really if you found yourself anytime in the last few days anything like I can't do this because, or this is getting in the way because, or it's not the right time because, or it's coming from a place of like feeling put upon, feeling like a more of a shadowy emotion, as opposed to like oh my gosh, I've been presented with this once in a lifetime trip to like go somewhere, and I'm going to do this next week, and I'm so excited to do both at a different time. Like that's a different kind of emotion versus it just looks like it's not cut out for me, you know, or even if it's with your intention and you're like, okay, so my intention over the next 7 days is to learn something new about myself. I don't know what that is. And so far you're like, I don't know, nothing makes sense. I'm not learning anything new about myself. This is the shadow part where you have the opportunity to say like, well, actually, is this right now? The fact that I keep saying this, is this something new I have to learn about myself? Or do I just stop and go back to the beginning and not go through that cave? And that's where we do the shadow work. And our moon sign, it's not the only thing, but it's a really good top level sort of thing to look at and understand yourself as the shadow aspects of self, for sure.
I start making excuses why I didn't do something, or I didn't have time to do that. That is Capricorn moon excuses, because in my head I wanted to do it. I was going to do it. It was important to me to do it because I was going to show up. I was going to be seen doing it, and I didn't do it. I'm like, well, then I make excuses to not wound my Capricorn.
And for me, if I feel like I'm not being heard, there is like no coming back from that for me. And that's a shadow thing that I have to work on. It's like, why is that such a big, because it's like, what is the big deal if I know my truth? What's the big deal if these other people do or don't know my truth? But I see that, right? And it's very real for me still that if I don't feel like I'm being heard, then we're going to fall into my Scorpio, Pluto and Mars, and I'm going to burn something down until someone hears me. But see, then it goes into like, what's the other aspects of my personality based on astrology? And then I have all that Sagittarius. So then I'm going to leave right after that because of that. But I have Saturn there. So I'm going to leave some kind of checklist for the house sitter while I'm slamming the door shut. So all of that, that's like how you put the puzzle together of astrology. See where it starts, where it ends.
Yes, and I will take that takeaway as that you are perfectly you, because that's a good takeaway. Yes,
exactly. All right then. Well, this concludes day 5. If you missed your sign, just listen back through. There's also a key sort of phrase chart. And remember that there's a lot happening in the birth chart. So if you hear yours and you say it doesn't sound like me, that could be because of something else that's happening. That would make perfect sense. This is just an overview for you.
And if it doesn't sound like you too, you could also do the work in times in your life where you've reacted a certain way and journal on it and see if there are instances where that comes up, even if it's not on the surface, because that in itself is shadow work too.
All right, so tomorrow we're rounding out this. And if you are interested in more shadow work, make sure you take the free shadow work class, and then we also have our holistic witchery program that we are starting in a few weeks now, and we do the whole thing is basically like just laced with shadow work, and it's fun too. So what was I going to say? Oh, tomorrow, day 6, we don't have a live stream together. That's our talisman day. So there's another visualization. I know there's like a lot fewer of you here now than we started. So hopefully people watch on the replay, because this is a question we always get. There is a visualization for day 6. And the visualization is to sort of guide you in seeing what your talisman might be. Now, I will write this in the email tomorrow also. You don't have to do the visualization, and you might do it and be like, I don't know, I don't see anything. That's fine. Choose something that you have that's meaningful to you. That's the bottom line. And really what that is a physical, tangible tool you can carry in your person to sort of help remember what it is that you're doing every day, and keep carrying this with you as we round out the week. So we'll be back, or I'll be back. I don't know. Anna might be with me. Unsure. On day 7 on Friday. Well, on Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, Anna and Sarah, our program director and one of our other astrology teachers, they always do an astrology forecast live on Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern. And that'll be here on Facebook too. So that might actually be a little confusing, because y'all are going to go on and then I'm going on right after at noon. So that will be there. And so I don't know, maybe we'll see Anna, but day 7, I will be back live again at noon. So the singular lunar tracker, somebody had asked a question about the lunar tracker that we use here. As part of our holistic witchery program, we provide this so you can get it printed and ordered, but it's a lunar tracking notebook, and it talks you through like looking at both planning your lunar cycle and then also understanding your emotions in a lunar cycle. And so we took, or Christina, our lovely tech guru, she took this page from the lunar cycle file and just uploaded it in the group for everybody to use. Basically what you could do is you can use it any way you want. Some people will pull like a tarot card a day and fill it in and then write on there what sign the moon is in and what phase it's in and write a message to themselves. I use mine to like write a little note about my emotional self that day, or if anything crazy happened, like crazy bad or crazy good. And then I also track my menstrual cycle, and then kind of note just how I'm feeling in alignment with whatever my intention is for a cycle. But those of you who are in Holistic Witchery, and there's a bunch of you that are participating in Expedition to Soul, when you look at your printer, there's a video your printouts, there's a video explaining it. So those of you that are in there, but just the single page, sort of top level, just really pay attention to the moon phase and sign, and then whatever you want to note to kind of start to understand yourself as related to the zodiac and what's going on around you. Like Anna and I both know that a Gemini moon is not for us. Not as a person. Like the Gemini moon in the sky
is not doing us any favors.
It does not do us any favors. And we know that through lunar tracking. So if we know that it's going to be a Gemini moon, Anna and I are like,
now the hitch.
Oh, good. What's going to be our coping mechanism of choice? Ice cream, beer. What's it going to be?
Something.
So, I see JC, the printable is in the Expedition to Soul Facebook group in the files section. You should be able to find it in there. If you, just head in there, and Christina put it in there for everybody. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Go to the class page. We'll put the replay there. All of the short videos are there. Extras are there for you. And talisman tomorrow. Pick your thing. You don't have to do the visualization if you don't want to. And then I'll see you on Friday at noon for our close out. The shadow work class is happening starting Saturday on into next week. It's about 1 hour. It's free. Sign up for your time of choice to get the replay also. And Anna will be on Friday at 11 with the other Sarah for the astrology forecast. Woo! So much happening here. All right, everyone. Have a great day ahead. Thank you for hanging with us. Bye.